Baby, just Dante. Dante.
Just give us one moment, guys. We had a bit of a technical difficulty, so we're now about to start. So bear with us for 1 second.
Close that door for me, please.
We're now live on Facebook, Dalton. So, all right, you ready? Are we ready to go? Thank you so much, guys, for your patience. You know, the adventure of live streaming is like live television. So you have to deal with dogs barking, people mowing the lawn, technical difficulties, time zone difference. But we're here, we're ready to start 4 minutes past 5 o'clock. So hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Hume Johnson. Thank you so much for joining us to launch our latest product, brand new lab, and it's really a laboratory. It's going to be a workshop, a one-stop shop for conversations, knowledge, information, and solutions to help you to cultivate a winning personal brand. And following the success of our June 26th, what's the June 20th? May 26th, what am I saying? The May 26th panel where we were talking about pivoting and positioning your personal brand after COVID. A lot of you guys asked for us to do more virtual events, and I thought that one of the best things to do was to bring people who are exciting personalities, who are cultivating really compelling personal brands, and bring them together in a virtual roundtable. And who better to kick off this brand new lab and this virtual roundtable than one of my truly favorite people in the whole wide world, a brilliant artist and winner of the UK X Factor 2018, Jamaican Dalton Harris. Dalton is coming to us live from London, and he's at a studio somewhere, and it's 10 p.m. in the night. And when we talked about this time, I said, Dalton, can we, you know, maybe we should do it early. He told me that he's in his prime. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. He's like, ouch, you know, clearly I have to go to bed at 10 o'clock. But I'm so happy. I mean, entertainers are always on the night shift, and he's a hardworking artist, always on the night shift anyway, as you can tell. And so, Dalton, greet the people then.
Hello, everybody. I have horrible vision, so I'm not sure if I'm seeing everyone, but greetings to everyone and everybody tuned in. Jamaica, America, UK.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. Stop, Hume.
Maybe you should put on your headset. I mean, you're bouncing through your sound is so strong. It's bouncing in my ears right now. Anyway, guys, for those of you who don't know me, I am Dr. Hume Johnson. I'm president of Hume Johnson Consulting. And this is a branding and communications firm where we help leaders, executives, and entrepreneurs to define and truly mobilize their personal brand. And we also help them to communicate their brand message with clarity, with confidence, and with credibility. For those watching us, welcome. Thank you for your interest in this personal branding roundtable. This conversation is incredibly important because it's really about empowering each other. And sometimes it's when we hear other people's stories, such as Dalton's extraordinary story, that we have the courage and the motivation to write our own story. I hope you're able to hang out with us for the entirety of the conversation, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, if he's able to stay with us that long, hopefully. Guys, remember to keep your microphones on mute, because when it's not on mute, then the feedback can be quite problematic. We're also streaming live on my Facebook page. And so, guys, I'll try my best to take a peek at your comments and your questions over there as well. Thank you so much. People on Zoom, please write your questions on our Zoom chat. And feel free to write a question at any point, particularly according to the theme that we're discussing at the moment. So to get things going, I must say thank you very much, Dalton, for helping us to kick off this brand new lab, very important. And one of the things I must say is that your brand is very strong, and yet it's built on pain and loss and trauma, but also courage and resilience and just extraordinary talent. Well, before we dig deep into that, I wanted to ask you about that moment that, you know, some people call it a meteoric rise, when you went from singing on a cruise ship to winning the UK X Factor in another country, a country that was not your own. You were simply there to enter this particular competition, but your career really began maybe 10 years earlier. So how did you make that adjustment to being almost, you know, operating under the radar to being in the global spotlight? What was that adjustment like for you? Did you go there to win? What was your goal for UK X Factor?
Very, very, very. That's a very you question. Very, very smart. Is what it done. I think my idea to be able to do music on the highest level. So whatever that meant, if that meant the thing with music, you have to prove yourself, and what better way to prove yourself than in front of millions of people with other people that are really talented. And I went to cruise ships as university. Really, I did 3 years, and that was kind of me learning to read music, learning to understand form even better. Something I couldn't get in Jamaica on the stages there, because an artist like me, myself, would not have really been given the platform I needed to execute my music the way I wanted to. And so I moved to London and auditioned. I didn't come here to win, but I came here to do my best. And I guess consistency won me the show. And it was kind of, you go to a meeting ground and you present your product, and the product that people liked ended up winning. And that's how I think about it. So from there, it was a launch pad into creating music, which I do every day.
Yes, I know. So when you went to England, I know it must have been a bit of a culture shock. It was not your culture, not your country, and then you were thrown into the spotlight. Do you think how stunned were you or surprised you were that you actually won?
Stunned, yeah, and surprised, definitely. Shocked, yeah, but I was never culture shocked. Because even though I grew up in Jamaica and I know our culture is not the most open, I've always prided myself in learning as much knowledge as possible about people, cultures, ways of living, etc. And so by the time I came to London, I was already living in America and traveling the world doing music. It just wasn't something that was a start. Music to me is the same as your job. You know, you get up and you go to work and you put in the hours. So I don't see myself as an entertainer that lives this life of, you know, I'm a star. It's more I put the work in. And so the culture shock wasn't there, but the winning, making history as one of the first Black men to win solo in a country that is far away from mine and completely out of my, it wasn't an expectation, because I guess music teaches me never to expect anything, but as also I expected to do my best. So I guess I can walk away saying, all right, I deserve it. No, you know.
You really do. One of the things I want to start talking about first is some of the challenges and the lessons, so that people can actually learn from you, because you're so wise beyond your years. I've been reading this book. I was telling you about it this week, Emotional Agility.
Are you?
Suzanne David.
Yeah.
I'll get one for you. And South African writer Suzanne David. I'm looking at my notes right here. And it's really about how to get unstuck and how to embrace change and really thrive. And she talks about really coming to terms with your most difficult emotions or behaviors and or thinking that can prevent us from flourishing. And I was telling you this week that I couldn't help thinking about you when I was reading it, because you won one of the world's most popular talent competition, but at the same time you were unraveling on the inside. And you know, I read in your bio that you were losing your most significant relationship, and that was with your mother. And normally most of us, when we're talking about family situations, we're dealing with that in private. But here you were
Yeah.
dealing with all of this, I mean, collapsing on the inside and dealing with all of this on the global spotlight. And I really wanted to ask you that that must have been gut-wrenching suffering. And how did you reconcile that? Victory, you're supposed to be really, really happy and enthusiastic, and yet you're dealing with a whole bag of emotion, difficult stuff. How did you deal with that?
You know, I'm used to it. I grew up in Jamaica in the country without anything. So dealing with the same trauma years later with a better platform and a better way of earning a living wasn't necessarily harder, but it still was hard nonetheless. I think losing a relationship with my mom happened in my childhood, but I guess losing that publicly again was a whole different trauma route, and simultaneously losing my relationship with my entire country at the time it failed because of being perceivably gay. It alienated me from my own culture, and I got a lot of threats and violence and just anger and just bad things through the internet.
My
um
my blood
I
was
got
cold just listening to that. I'm really sorry that you had to go through that. Did you feel alone that Jamaica abandoned you?
I got pictures that were drawn of somebody being hung, gunshots to the head, somebody's throat being sliced. I got countless things from thousands of people. I should die, don't come back. So I guess dealing with that, because I'm in this foreign country, and even though I was so embraced by everyone in the UK, across the UK, and was this kid that everybody liked his talent and my zeal, I felt like, what does it mean if my country isn't standing behind me? And I felt like I was looking forward to going back and being proud of sharing this joyous thing that is making history for my country as well. But instead I got that, and because I never came out publicly to say anything that would have been to the route of homophobia, because that's not what I aligned myself to be. That's not what I wanted to build a brand on. And that's exactly why I waited 7 years to cultivate a craft that would not need me to be ignorant or violent to any sector or group of people or cultures to make it. And so I kind of anticipated that, but it still was heartbreaking nonetheless.
So at one
Uh,
point we were celebrating you for winning, but on the other side of it, you were getting hate from your own country as well.
yeah, so I won this awesome, amazing thing and put Jamaica on the map for a different thing. And what the thing that was heartbreaking to me was I was treated like something dirty, but somebody that was convicted for drugs and went to prison for that was greeted by the government so proudly. And I was hidden in the back of an airport and hidden out of the airport, so I felt shame. Um, but in the midst of that, I couldn't let that get in what I was
Of
doing. So
course.
I have to maintain a composure. You have to be zealous in your strides, and I eventually won, and I'm here.
Yeah.
So
But you also sought help as well. So you weren't just zealous and kind of doing it all on your own. You went to rehab, and people, we're not associating rehab. Sometimes we associate it with
uh,
substance addiction or
drugs.
stuff like that. But you went to rehab. Tell us about that and why you felt the need that you needed that extra support.
Uh, I think because you see, there's this scientific term that's saying you stop feeling or you stop seeing your nose when you look forward, because your eyes get so accustomed to it being there that you learn to block it out. Your mind, your brain realize, hey, there's this thing obstructing my view, so let me learn to not see it. And that is the same way trauma works. For me, it was on child abuse and extreme physical abuse. Um, and that physical abuse implicates your mental health as well, and self-esteem and all those things that further got deteriorated. And Donovan German tried his hardest to recover me in certain ways, but it couldn't. You can't unteach 20 years of trauma and stuff like that. So I went to rehab to deal with childhood trauma. It was a 2-week course.
Hmm.
And also the some issues that I picked up: depression, extreme depression and anxiety, because it was getting in the way of work.
And that was something that was built up over time. It wasn't something to do with your experience during the competition.
It was built up over time, but it was amplified by my experience through the competition. What happened with me and the Jamaican population really affected me deeper than people might have thought. But again, I have to focus on what the job is. There's a job that I need to do, and I cannot complete that task if I focus on this. So even though this was happening, I had to conceal that, deal with that later, figure this. When I had the chance, I went and I did 2 weeks in Arizona in Phoenix, and it was amazing.
Wow.
And
what was the biggest thing that you did there? Because I give people a sense of what takes place in a course like that, because there are tons of Jamaicans on the boat in Toronto.
It's a lot of experiential work. So you're sitting in a room with 4 to 5 other people that's gone through extreme trauma as well.
Mm-hmm.
You're secluded from the world of internet and outside contact. So you're in this huge, it's like a mansion with lots of horses, and ranch and greenery, and it's beautiful. It's like the Garden of Eden. But I go to class from 7 till 3 in the every day, and you know, you name your traumas, you name the people that hurt you, and you understand it's not your fault. You learn to forgive yourself first. You not forget that it happened, but understand that it doesn't define you. You learn to reparent yourself and stop.
Did you blame yourself?
Yes. Yeah, I did. Because the only common denominator with all these abusers were me. So I figured, why is it that everybody I went around would be abusive? It must have been something I did. So that's what the thought process was.
Suzanne David, in her book, the same book I'm going to send you one, she talks about the idea that, you know, you have come out of your situation to me with incredible self-awareness and self-compassion. And how important was forgiveness, though? Because you told me that you used to be angry.
Yeah, man. I was an angry teenager. By the time I went around my adopted dad, Donovan German, I was extremely. I didn't have friends. I didn't do social things. The first time I went to a club was in Miami with my sister, and I was well in my 20s, and I'm still in 20s. But you know, Donovan German used to curse me to get out the house and go have friends, but I was socially withdrawn.
Yeah.
But I found solace in reading books, you know, an entire volume of encyclopedias, among other things, just to have a general knowledge of as many things as I could. But forgiveness was important for me. At the time, I thought I needed to forgive everyone else, so it was good for them. But I realized that forgiveness was better for me, because if I forgave them, then I wouldn't be living the trauma presently.
Of course.
And the minute I learned how to properly forgive, I did it to myself first. And then forgiveness led me to want to take care of me, and hence why I went to rehab. And that led to a whole different person, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you do come across right now is that you know that life isn't easy. You endure a lot of stress, but I think what you've managed to do is to still hold on to your most cherished values and still pursue your goals. So what were you able to tell yourself? What did you tell yourself during those really dark moments to kind of keep yourself going? Because a lot of people would have given up their dream. What kind of words, or what did you tell yourself to kind of keep going?
Initially, it started out being I didn't want to die helpless, because when I was I attempted suicide when I was 19.
Wow.
And I didn't want to die helpless. That was the first thing. So I tell myself, you don't want to be weak, you know, you don't want to be weak, you don't want dead weak. Like I always said to myself, if God's going to take me, it has to be dramatic. You know, like you have to send an asteroid or a comet for me. You know, I didn't want to throw away all the hard work that I've done on myself and all that I've gone through for nothing and because of what somebody made me feel. And though it was hard at the time, I would tell myself that, and then it transitioned into being like, you know, you could probably get to this place. I just wanted to see the world, you know. And when I was completing my A levels and completing my sixth form,
Right.
it was go to med school or do I do music and travel the world so I can live and be happy and see other things and reculture myself and experience a different life than the one that I was given, you know. I wanted to lead my life. I
So
wanted to know.
you expanded your vision of yourself. You wanted more.
Yeah, I wanted more. I wanted more. And I worked hard at it. I didn't know what this more was because the more
Yeah.
wasn't money. And it's, you know, I think the more is I just want to learn. I love people and I like to understand as much as I can about the human experience because it's not any one thing.
Mhm.
Um, I want to give love. I want to make music. I want to live as many places as I can. I want to learn cultures. I want to not be at the mercy of a culture that I think is falsified in its execution, and that's the Jamaican culture. I still
Yeah.
think we are teaching young men to be toxic. And this is bad for women. It's bad for the future of what a black young man is supposed to be. And it goes back to branding as well. And the funny thing, for those listening, I've been hearing about this doctor. Do I call it Dr. Johnson on here?
Whatever you feel like calling me, Dalton.
And I think Donovan Germain inspired me to want more because I never understood that I could be a scholar or anything. Because growing up, when my mom would send me to school and when she tried her best, you know, but she herself was an abused child and she was constantly beaten by my stuff like that. So he made me realize that I could use my brain in a different way,
Yeah,
you know.
I want to come back to Donovan Germain in a while, but I wanted to ask you before we kind of move out of this section is, do you have any advice for people? I mean, there are plenty people going through similar trauma right now. Do you have an advice to how they can overcome pain and overcome trauma? They may not be able to go to Arizona, to that place where I feel like I should be right now because it sounds so relaxing.
Yeah.
But what's your advice for people suffering right now, going through that kind of similar trauma you went through?
I'll say my advice to people suffering or just people like love, you know, and it's not a romantic love and it's not just be open to love because like if if you're open to love, you can experience it, you can receive it, you can give it. And love to me is like oxygen. You know, like once I realized that I could drop this defense, you know, like be open to love, and with love comes an opportunity to live and unlock a whole different life, a different view on the world. Like things just look different, but
You
you
know,
have to be,
yeah.
you know, and there's many ways to go about it, but just pursue that. I think that was my biggest advice because it not only affects you but those you come in contact with.
I find it fascinating that something that is so taboo in terms of how we deal with mental health in Jamaica. We don't talk about it. It's such a taboo subject. I'm fascinated and intrigued by your openness. Uh,
Yeah.
why do you want to speak out? Why do you want to be honest about what you went through and really talk about it? With this kind of transparency.
Why do I speak with transparency? There's things I will never ever again. And there are things that I will never speak or say to people,
Mhm.
but those things are extremely personal stuff. Like my loved ones, I'll never allow to be open to the public for their, I'll protect those people. But when it comes to my experience, I think if you look at the history of humanity, and again, all those encyclopedias that I read, you know, I've read a lot and I've understood
Uh,
so many things, and all of life and all of the technology and all the things and all the intelligence that we say we have, it's an accumulation of other human beings leaving instructions. Memory lasts us for so long and no more. But when I die, my only way to give back to human beings, you know, like the world, the earth, this thing that rock, stones, whether you're white, black, from a different continent or whatever, we came from the same thing, the same piece of matter, carbon and hydrogen and helium and oxygen molecules makes up human beings, and I'm from that. So if I am going through this thing and I can share my story, that is me leaving instructions so the other person that comes can seize and be, cool, there was somebody called Dalton that went through this path and they saw this tiger that would attack them at 3 o'clock. Then they left a note saying, don't walk here. I think the reason I is so people can understand that I want to break down this wall of what
under the radar.
What people perceive a young black man to be, what people perceive a young Jamaican man is supposed to be, what people perceive somebody in entertainment to be, what people perceive life from a certain perspective to be. I want to teach them that the possibilities are endless, and I am not at where I want to be yet, but from where I'm coming from is a lot. So I think
so let's talk about where you're coming from a little bit, early beginnings in Jamaica, and really how you got into the driver's seat of your career. So when did you realize that you could sing and that you wanted a career in entertainment?
I realized I could sing in March of 2019.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so this was way after the Digital Rising Star, which you won, and which, to the credit of all those judges, thought that you could sing at that time. Were you singing in church? Were you singing at school? Tell me about that period. People, go ahead.
I sung everywhere I could. I think I was a singing kid, and I didn't sing to be like, hey, it was like people speak, I sing. Kids play with toys, I sing. My sister's book, I sing. They hold me captive and say, sing, I sing. No, but I've been singing for as long as I know, because my mom, for some weird reason, and I still don't understand why, and I was saying this to my friends yesterday. Growing up, my mom had an unlimited collection of cassettes. And yes, I'm a 90s kid, so I'm not so young, you know what cassette means.
The younger people wondering what a cassette is.
Right, and she had an extensive collection, and there were so many artists from that Celine Dion to Luther Vandross to from country to Dolly Parton to everything. And she would, when she was washing, she would sing. There was a song by Mariah Carey, Vision of Love, and she would sing every single note effortlessly while doing the laundry with her hand, around the back. And just singing. And I've always been a mama's boy. So I was always, wherever my mom was, I wasn't very far away, and I was a teen, still is. And I would just be there, singing as well. And she would whistle and I learned how to whistle and then I'd sing. But it wasn't something that you knew you could do. You just did it. And I went to church, but I never really sung in church because people, when I was growing up, used to shun us because we were poor. And people never really spoke to us. Adults alienated us. They taught their kids never to speak with us. So we kind of were self-sufficient. It was just myself and my older sisters at the time. So, there's a lady that called me. Her name is Loy. She's the mother of Omar McLeod, who's the gold medal Olympic gold medalist, 110 hurdles. We grew up together.
Yes.
And she made me sing the first time, and then I sung, and she was like, you sound like Brother Babu. And at the time, Brother Babu was singing in the church, and I was like, what? My sister was like, oh, don't talk to me. Did you hear that? Right. And I started singing in the church, but nobody cared. It was just a kid singing, but I was excited. And then when I was in the 4th grade, a teacher, Mrs. Gordon, made me sing at a function for the school at the Ferron New Testament Church of God. And I sung there. And it was like I was a community star. They were like, oh, this little ugly kid, he sang and it was really good. Tell his mom, and then I entered the JCDC competition there, and I became the first gold medalist for my school.
Wow, it's amazing. So question, you said that you were, oh, did they think you were ugly? You also said that they shunned you. What was
Yeah.
was that the biggest challenge you were facing in your community aside from poverty, you know?
I didn't care, to be fair. I never really cared for their opinion of me. I just knew that once you never touched me, we were good. Once you not touch me, we're cool. You could say what you want, you know. Because I had a very unapologetic mom, and she was extremely defensive of us as well.
Mhm.
So when the teachers would treat us not very well, I knew that, hey, if you touch me, I'm going to call my mother, you know? And so we were protective of ourselves. So I never really cared about what people thought of me, but it definitely implicated my socialism as a child because I still struggle. I mean, I'm socially awkward because of it, because I never really was socialized normally to have friends and interact with other kids. It was just myself and my sisters. And then when they left to America, I was kind of with my annoying
Yeah.
little brother, who I didn't had no interest in being friends with because he was annoying. And the same thing happened throughout my childhood. But there would be times when, you know, I'd be going to school and the older boys would tease me, and I would think, are they gonna beat me up? Because I can't take on all of them at the same time. So I'd just be walking toward thinking, if this one hits me, I'll just hit this one with a stone and run, and then get the others the next day. So I always was very afraid. Um, and
You told
yeah,
you told me recently that you didn't have anybody to talk to you. You didn't have that guidance. I mean, obviously, your mother was doing the best that she could, but
yeah.
it seems like the community kind of had some sense that you could be an entertainer, that you had some talent that could really mobilize your career.
Um, Not necessarily. I think the first person that had faith in me was a teacher, Miss Rochester. She believed that I could. The first paid gig I ever got was because of her. You know, and at the time I didn't really care much for singing, other than if I won the competition, that means I could go to KFC, or if I did well, I could car ride. You know, so
Yeah,
I'm thinking
yeah,
nobody care about this. I just want to win so I can go to another place and visit somewhere, and that was my ticket out of my community, you know, and that's honestly the reason why I did it. And then I realized I could help my mom with the rent
right.
or help to put food on the table and so well. And the guidance was never there because I had an absent father. I was born with curly hair, and so his family thought I wasn't his. I looked just like him. No.
Mm,
Um, his people, we weren't allowed to eat out the same plates with the same spoons. We weren't allowed to go in the house when he wasn't there. If he came home and we were there, we'd have to eat. He'd have to cook for us in a different pot. So I lost respect for him because as a father, he never fought for us. He never protected us. And so he never guided me, or he wasn't there. And my mom was trying her best, but imagine being in your 20s or early 30s with 4 or 5 kids. You know, my mom wasn't the best educated because she didn't have that family structure. So imagine her trauma and her anger and trying to raise kids, you know, and I
yeah.
did the best I could to protect her, but I was a kid as well, and I wanted that. So I never got the guy. So I kind of, but she instilled, I think my mom instilled a pride inside of me that I transitioned into making sure that whatever I do when I sing or whatever I do, I need it to be the best. If I don't feel like I'm at my best, then I don't want to do it.
You did find mentors eventually in
I,
Donovan Jermaine.
I found a mentor, stumbled up, you know, and when I went around Donovan and Jeremy, it's the first experience I had at being father. And I was obviously, you know,
Of being fathered,
I
is that what you said? Of being fathered?
yeah, but I refused it. You know, I was fighting back. I was like, leave me alone, human being, because human beings leave anyway. You know, everybody leaves. So don't try to trick me in thinking you care because you're gonna disappear anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, so
and
you
then
initially resented that kind of care
yeah,
from Donovan.
here comes this grown person trying to tell me what to do. You know, I was like, don't tell me what to do. I'm grown. You know, I make my own money. I've been on my own since I was 15. You don't tell me what to do. So, you know, we clashed. And then, anger there, and then I realized, this man kind of knows what he's doing, and
Yeah.
I owe who I am today in huge parts to Donovan Jr.
You'd say that Donovan is your biggest mentor, would you?
Mhm. Donovan Jr. is my dad.
Is your dad? I know. I know. Is the first time I heard about you, it was Donovan calling to make some representation. So I should talk to you. Talk to you. Anyway, how did you overcome fear? First of all, I asked you this question last year and I didn't get an answer because you're so busy touring.
Oh,
What was your biggest yes? The first yes you got?
oh yes!
Remember
You
this,
asked me
remember this question? Yeah. What was your first yes? Biggest yes. First yes.
I think back then, before now, my yes was, I think my biggest yes in my life, not my career. I think my biggest yes was, it wasn't a verbal yes, but it was an acceptance, no? And it goes back to Donovan Jermaine. I think my biggest yes was Donovan Jermaine, somebody agreeing and accepting to take me under their roof. I think was my biggest yes, because I got from that an education, and a very good education.
And you actually lived with Donovan for a while, didn't you?
Yes. So that was my biggest yes in my life. I think now as a grown man, my biggest yes, my biggest yes was probably.
You had started the story by saying you're on a bus from Clarendon to Ochi.
Yeah, that was from a Rising Stars audition. And that yes kind of put me in contact with Donovan. Won the show and he became interested in managing me, and then he was supposed to be a manager of music, and then he turned out to actually not want me to do music. He wanted me to go be a doctor. So when I told him, a record producer, that I wanted to do music, I expected him to be like excited and great. He was just in
because he was responsible for the careers of so many great artists: Beres Hammond, Marcia Griffiths, Tony Rebel, Buju Banton.
I just feel like he did not give a flying rat. I feel like he was like, okay, you can sing and I'll give you the resources to learn and develop your craft. But I do not think Donovan Jermaine really cared for me being left in this world just to be an artist. I think that wasn't good enough for him, because I guess he saw how the and wanted to equip me for a long-term quality of life that would have been consistent. So he's my greatest supporter. I think he's proud of me because of who I am. But obviously, I know say him go show off to him friend them and say, yeah man, I'm son, we next factor and blah blah.
I'm confident that he's very proud. I can tell you personally that the man is super proud of you. We all are. We all are. An advice though, Dalton, for people who are struggling to overcome their insecurity. You went on a bus from Clarendon to Ochi to audition for Digital Rising Star. How do you get that motivation? How can people really just overcome all the fears and really get into the driver's seat and move their career forward, which is what you effectively did?
At the time when I auditioned for Digital Rising Stars, I was not living with my mom, and I was living with strangers, because at the time I was, put out of the house by my mom at the time, because we didn't have the best relationship. And my mother was angry. She was really angry. And at the time my mother is the most loving person now that I know, but back then she never knew how to show that. I don't think she knew how to love, because she herself was battling with her journey. Yeah. And I was rid of my mom for most of my life. So when I did Rising Stars, I was living with people. I was staying with a classmate's friend, and I borrowed the money to go. So it was fight or flight, because I was at these people's house, and yes, they wouldn't beat me, and I wouldn't get stabbed or chopped, or I wouldn't get beat to the point where I would see my blood, and I wasn't afraid. but I also knew that I wasn't these people's family. And it was very apparent, it was made very apparent every day, even though they were nice. I had to walk in the back door to go in the house. I wasn't allowed to walk through the veranda like the normal kids because the husband of the lady didn't like me. He didn't want me there. And so every day I was reminded I did not belong. So I wanted to establish something for myself that nobody could take away from me. That was mine. And so I went to Rising Stars because I wanted to enter since I was in the third grade anyway. Um, I was barely the age, you know. So as soon as I got to the age, I was like, yes, I'm gonna go, and I did. And I was told by so many people not to do it because I lived with Christians at the time, and I did it anyway. And I ended up winning. Then I left, used that money to send myself to school and get an education,
Wow.
and invested in myself in that way. I've never owned a car in my entire life.
You have a license though, you know how to drive.
Yes, I do.
Ah,
But
ah.
I've I've never needed one, and I figured I'd use that money to go to school or invest in my career or my mind, and that's what I did.
Guys on watching on Zoom, feel free to ask questions on this. I'm unable to look at my Facebook right now, but you guys, if you have questions of Dalton, feel free to ask that. Dalton, I want to talk about your personal brand a little bit. I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
it's revealed to people, but long before you jetted off to the UK and just won this competition, we were texting back and forth. I think some of the stuff I was talking
I
about.
I told you when I did the audition. I'm not sure if I think I texted you
You did.
when I got the judge's house thing, but at that time it wasn't airing.
Yeah. You texted before you actually,
Yeah.
the secret was let out of the bag that you were going to enter this competition. Nobody knew, but I found out.
Yeah.
But prior to that, you were kind of keen about your personal brand, trying to figure out what that is. And so my question is, what is the unique value that you think you bring to the table in music?
I think my mind and my openness to understanding somebody's point of view first before having a judgment of what that person should do or should be. And that's empathy. That's empathy toward the human nature.
Yeah.
I think so many I've grown up seeing artists get hit songs that marginalized a different group of people, that put a different idea of what the goal and aspiration should be for me. And I aligned my brand with making sure that whomever it is that listen to my music, the only reason you'd have a problem with me is because you would judge somebody that I wouldn't. And that stands true to this day. So
Yeah.
if there's ever anyone, it's not because I've done anything to them. It's just because they've not really gotten to the point of understanding that judgment for somebody is never needed.
Yeah.
Um,
Andrea Williams is asking, what is one thing about your brand that separates you from the pack? How do you show up as your authentic self? How do you separate yourself?
I show up always willing and ready to learn, always ready to apply myself, and never thinking that I've got it done. My personal brand is every room and every time I do this music thing, I start from scratch and I'm like, how can I be great? That's the thinking. How can I be great? And my personal brand is aligned with that. And the most weird thing as an artist that I think my personal brand also, I need to be intelligent, not just in terms of how educated I am in an instant, but just knowledge. I need to know and understand as much as I can. So whenever I turn up, I'm taking in so much. And always trying to teach as well for whomever it is that's willing to listen. But consistency is the key to why I'm where I am.
So that whole set of encyclopedias that Jermaine had put in your room certainly paid off. You like to read.
Yes. And the thing is, when I was a teenager, I wasn't on the internet with social media, I watched documentary after documentary after documentary on so many things, whether it was, quantum physics, whether it was the history of money, whether it was how continents were formed, exoplanets, black holes,
So you were
dark.
fascinated by knowledge and information.
Still is fascinated with knowledge, and I wanted to understand, at least as far as I can go back, the commencement of humanity as we know it.
Mm-hmm.
And then also lended my mind to thinking, we're here. I am so humble that I exist. And I'm incredibly humbled as well, knowing that there's other existences out there that I don't even know about and I don't have to think about. But I'm so grateful that I know, that this is what it is. And that's how I kind of live my life,
One of the things you said when I was reading your bio is that you look for music that speaks to your soul. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I think no disrespect to anyone else, but I have no interests in making music that is gonna pass through this here and out the other. In other words, I don't make music for you to forget if you've heard it. And when I use my voice, it should be for a greater cause than just me, But it's entertainment, so I guess people always have the assumption that it's just supposed to be that.
Yeah.
But if you think Bob Marley and documentary of his documentary on Netflix, I encourage anybody to just go look, it's always bigger than the artist, and the industry and any record exec, well, and that's how I it was never so music, it has to speak to the soul, because if it doesn't speak to the soul, then what am I communicating and why am I communicating? That's superpower. So
Yeah, and it's always something that's bigger than yourself. This week I was listening to that interview that Buju Banton did on Winford's program, and he said that the music was here. People are saying that they're the king of dancehall and the king of this and the king of that. Well, the music was here before us, and the music will be here after. And so he feels like he's a servant of the music, and it was so extraordinary for me that he saw himself as, this was his contribution to humanity and this was part of his calling, and it was something that was bigger than him. Is that how you see your journey as well?
I've always known that music and the fact that I could sing was greater than me. And I knew that because maybe when I was 6 or 7, I remember being extremely sad. Mm-hmm. And I, in a place where it's a lot of forest, and I went and just sat on a piece of log, and I had a leaf on my thigh, and I had khaki pants at the time, because country picnic, you wear your old khaki, them where give up on 3/4. Yeah. And I sat there with a nail and I poked through this leaf, and it would leave the chlorophyll on my khaki pants, and that was just fun to me at the time. But I remember hearing a song called "Turn Off the Lights" by Nelly Furtado, and immediately I was euphoric and I was transcendental almost. Mm-hmm. And that was music, and I was like, yo, I want to do that to somebody. I want, when you listen to something I've written or sung, that it can make you feel something, because if you can make another human being feel, that's magic. That is magic. You're affecting.
There's you do sing about your own experience though. There's a lyric in the single that you have, Cry, that I really like. I don't know if I get it right, but you said something about the tears on the guitar, or the guitar is crying. Am I getting it right? Tell me what that meant. Tell me about that song.
It's Guitar Cry. I wrote that song because obviously I am a cornball and I love love. I love to be experiencing life with somebody. And at the time, I lost somebody I thought I was going to marry, Mm-hmm. It was a loss that was irreversible as well. Mm-hmm. So, it's singing about the death of love and the death of a loved one. Mm-hmm. From about for months, and I mourned, and I mourned, and the way I mourned was by belting.
You
And
know, I thought that song was about the end of that relationship that you had with your mother, because now you guys have a new and more positive relationship. So I actually thought it was about.
but that music to me, I make music from a certain place, and you get to listen it
Mhm.
and make it speak to you in the way that you want it to.
Yeah.
So that's how it is. I cannot tell you how to take my music. The intention is to find something from there.
Okay, so Dione had a question that she had emailed me. How do you keep your brand consistent, especially when you're catering to different markets?
Apply myself and learn. Again, it goes back to learning. I think never any room or any place in any country that I've ever lived, whether it was Mexico, America, here, it's I've always understood and examined and researched the people, the culture, the history of whatever it is that I was going into. So I can have at least base knowledge of how to appreciate what I'm going to be going into. So I know how to learn and why to learn and what to learn.
Mhm.
I think turning up and applying myself and performing is how I keep myself consistent. People love to say, yeah, boy, on X Factor, you were just so good all the time. I was like, it's nice, that's great. But to me, it wasn't, look how great I am every time. Every single time I performed, it was, okay, back to square one. How can I apply myself fully? And how do I learn as much as I can about what's happening here and then apply that?
It's interesting
So
you
I
say
had,
that because earlier in the conversation you said that you really discovered that you could sing 2019.
yeah.
Tell me why you said that.
I was on a headlining tour, to be honest. Like when I was a kid, I'd get visions of myself in an arena. Bear in mind, I didn't have internet at the time,
Yeah.
and I've never been to or even seen any images of inside any arena. I had no idea what an arena would look like, but I remember having visions and seeing myself on stage with lighting and all that, singing to thousands of people. So here I am headlining my own arena tour across the UK, singing to 20,000 people every night. And I realized then, oh crap, you are good at this. And the reason why I know you are good at this is because you've applied yourself for so long, and people are responding to it, but also I'm able to do the job. I'm able to do the job, and that's when I realized, okay, good. You are consistent enough. So for right now, I think I'm good at it. If I
Yeah.
ever feel myself falling off and complacent,
Yeah,
then
your brand is always evolving. You're only as good as your last performance. I really like that you believe in consistency. Here's another question. We probably moved past this section, but this is someone from Facebook, Dalton, Roxanne. She's saying your audition song was about sorry. You had explained what it meant to you, and she's asking, has your mom ever sincerely said I'm sorry, and has the healing of that relationship started?
yes, my mother said sorry. Matter of fact, my mother says sorry and that she loves me every day. And the biggest misconception that I remember when the whole thing, were so rude and attacked her and attacked me, saying, "Oh, you said this about." I never said anything about my mom, ever. All I said is I was an abused child, and I've said that to her. She's apologetic. She's sorry. You know, every day she's like, "Yo, she never know better, and she did her best." And I was like, "That's good." But me speaking up and letting you know it was wrong affected how my little brother and sister know. No, they can talk to her in a way I could never. She doesn't hit them the way she would hit me. My mom's a Christian now. She's a loving lady. My sisters and brothers have a relationship with her that I wish
Okay.
at their have. But again, instructions in life, if I can effect change that benefits somebody else, me, it was worth it anyway. That song for me, to be honest, and when you do a show as big as the X Factor, you can't just sing any song. But that was a song I wanted to sing, and I had to fight for it because there were producers that tried to get me to change the song and sing something else that was more in line with what everybody's always done. And I was like, nope, singing this song because it's important to me, and it was 24 hours plus without sleep. So by the time I got on stage, if you look one side of my head flat because me asleep when them come call me say my time to go on stage. And that song to me was me expressing fully and what it was, and I stand by it even to this day. Sorry seems to be the hardest word. If a lot of people I've met in my life said sorry, then a lot of people could be left with a lot less pain, myself included. My his family, my mom's mom, so many people, I am not special. A lot of other people go through things in the world as well. So again, instruct, that performance, I'm not sure if it made anything good between my mom and I, because obviously people made something into what it wasn't, and then, found it in a way that wasn't the best at the time. But I took time away and we didn't speak for a whole year, and I took time to be okay first for me. And she was, she was hurting as well because she realized that she lost her son, and she's done so well in she's just a really good person now.
Yeah, I'm so pleased that you guys have come full circle. You're talking every day and everything is just wonderful.
The thing is, my mom and I knew since I was a kid that I was meant to be my mother's best friend. I knew that. And even through the abuse and all those things, I still was, because I was the only thing she had, and she knows that too. I was my mom's protector, fighter, provider, everything, as far as I knew. But it just happened that happened, and I had to step up and stand up for myself. Whether or not she was my mom, I knew what I deserved, and I knew also what was wrong, shouldn't have been given, because regardless, I'm a child, and I needed a peer.
In trying to scale your personal brand, and when I say personal, I mean truly personal, because everything that's you comes out in what you do professionally and otherwise. What's the biggest lesson you learned in trying to evolve as a person and as an artist?
I think try to be original. I've gone down the route where I would write songs or try to socialize myself to be what the quintessential Jamaican artist, Jamaican guy, Jamaican man is supposed to be. And the minute I decided to stop doing that is when I got so much hate and all these things. But that was the best thing for me, because I became me, and my brand was evoked, I think, at its peak there, because I realized exactly what made me stand apart. And I was thinking, I had a decision to make. Do you want to be popular because of ignorance, or do you want to be popular because of standing for something that is the greater good? I opted for that, So I think that aligned me and affected how I navigated my career even now.
Do you think it gave you more access? Did it open opportunities when you start just being who you are?
No, it doesn't. And that's just the honesty of it. I think a lot of times when you hear people speak of their success, it's almost explained in a way where it's like, once you do this thing that is great and heroic, you will get these good. No, being a hero doesn't give you opportunity. Deciding to stand up against, how parenting is in Jamaica got me hate. And so when I decided also know the home of out and not to state this thing of, like, I'm never, and I will never do that in my career ever. I don't care. Never.
What's the value? Because there's certainly a value to standing up and being who you are. What's the value in that?
To be honest, like, and this is with everything, if you are you, then you feel happier. I know I do. Like, if you know that you are doing something you feel is right, it makes you happier. But does it open doors? Probably not, because I lost out on money and shows and stuff like that because people that are powers that maybe don't think I am somebody that, even with my talent, that deserves certain things. Even when I did Sumfest, there was a public outcry that I should not be doing the show. And I went and did the show, and not a single person can tell me that there was another performer that did so better than me, that I didn't deserve my pay or being on the show. But it takes opportunities away when you decide to stand for something, because the more you stand for something, the more people you probably might piss off.
Yeah, but how important, I mean, if there's a young person now listening to you, how important is it for them to stay true to their values?
It depends on the person, and also it depends on economics as well, because you have to, it's like there's a game that you have to navigate. You can think that way, and there's a understand chronologically. There's efficiency. So I think the benefit of it is, in the long run, you will inspire a generation of people that will remember you for something greater than just fitting in with the crowd. You know, that's what I used to do before X Factor. I was writing songs and doing all these things in Jamaica, but because I stood for something, it never got me the support. But now, when I established myself years later, that became my personal brand that got me more respect when I walked into a room of people that are educated and understands things. If I walk in a room anywhere now in the world, I'll for sure get more respect than anybody singing about killing and all these things in Jamaica that doing so great.
Absolutely, 100%.
And also, I walk away knowing that my integrity is something that is greater than being a thug or this sexist, homophobe, or whatever else it might be. And it's not a popular opinion, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Because if I earned $10 million because I made any person feel like they didn't deserve to live, or didn't deserve life that they breathe, I don't know if I'd be able to be happy eating that meal, you know. But know that I am inspiring and teaching people to do better. So I think get the support of a bunch of people that don't even take the time to think and understand how life really works. Or there could be 10 teenagers that I prevented from killing themselves. So they have me to look up to. And if I can procure life, that is a greater payoff than any paycheck or any level of popularity.
So you lean into your core values and positive beliefs.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not perfect, man. I have my own things as well. Like, I'm still trying to figure it out, but I'm a good person, you know. And I start there. And also, I'm professional, and I'm very
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that professionalism and that work ethic. I mean, seriously, Dalton, you said you were creating 600 songs the other day. You go biking and love to send photos of what speed you're going, while the rest of us are not even exercising. So thank you for making us feel unfit. So tell me about how important that work ethic is. And I'm sure you're not going to leave the studio until 5 a.m. tomorrow. So how important is work ethic to being successful as an artist? It's a very competitive industry, and it's inconsistent. How do you make it work?
The complete honesty is that as good as I sing, there's somebody that sings half as good, but because they're different and look different. Like, the truth of it is, there's this, I'm in a system that is oppressive. So my only guarantee to getting as much as I can from my return is being professional and having a consistent work ethic. So I want to work harder than anyone, and that makes me feel secure in the future. You know, there's lots of things, you know. I might not be, I may never get the same respect, because, like, there's so many things that play a role, you know. And let's be honest, it's 2020, and I still am dealing with racism as well. And I'm dealing with the kind that won't yell the N-word or hit me because I'm Black, but I won't be let to or given certain opportunities just because of how I look. And it's kind of the same way where you won't be given certain opportunities or even certain respect or certain things in a Jamaican society because of so many other factors.
Yeah. Some of the top artists in Black artists in England, they were talking recently about racism in the music industry and in England and what they experienced. Have you personally experienced racism? I know you said it wasn't of the frontal form, but there are other ways in which you can be denied.
Microaggressions, and I've had people shut me out of the bus, the tour bus. I've had people shut the door when I was coming. Security guards that were paid to escort us would escort all the other contestants, but me and my other friends, and I had a makeup artist that was working there at the time that almost lost her job because she decided to stand up to one of these guys, you know. And then I remember emailing at the time and saying, if this doesn't change, I'm leaving, you know.
So you spoke out to the superiors about that at the time?
That time I also knew that I didn't want to be the angry black guy, so I had to edit myself, and I had to be very careful of how I navigated that transgression. So it's bigger than me as well. It's not personal, but it's something that is annoying and it's not right.
Of course.
Who again is to turn up and work harder than anyone in the room. So you can never say that that person that you treated differently because of his race was worse off than somebody else from an opposite race. You know, you could never compare me to someone else and tell me that I'm so much more horrible because I don't work harder, you know? So I think that's why consistency and making sure that I apply myself is so important to me, because I never want to give to
Go ahead. I noticed that you commented recently on the Black Lives Matter movement. I wanted to ask you about that. Is it something that you feel like artists should take a stand on these issues? Where should the artist locate him or herself in social movements like that?
I can never tell an artist what to do, but I can say for myself, I worked on cruise ships for 3 years, and all 3 years I was subject to extreme racism, extreme racism, and ethnocentricity as well. Because I think in the cruise industry, when you're a Jamaican or Caribbean native, you're not allowed in the musical department, the CMP or the CM. Go and get, even if you dance and sing with somebody else from a different country, because they have that Caribbeans are only good for one thing, and that's to be in the reggae band. Right. You know, that's board. And being one of the top rated vocalists in the company for 3 years still never got me a pay raise, which I was legally obligated to. And when I would send emails about that, they tell me it's disrespectful to send long emails. Or when I'd have musical directors say things that were extremely horrible, do things that I'd speak up, I'd record them most times, but nothing was ever done. And I was always treated like I did something wrong. And even though legally there was never a reason for them to kick me out of my job, because I for sure would have sent them a lawsuit, they found a way to try to bully me into quitting.
Look where you are now.
Yeah, and so by the time I did X Factor, I had resigned and walked away. You know, nobody cared, and then you won, and then the same company was making me the face of their entertainment department and saying how proud they were and stuff like that. And I said, take my picture down or you'll be hearing from my lawyer. So
you had to ask your employer to take your photo down. They were using your image without your permission?
After I won X Factor.
Wow.
Yeah, so you see, like, you can cheat how somebody thinks, or you can just cheat how they have over you. I opt for the second option because, you know, it's not my job to teach you how to be a normal, decent human being. But if you decide to go the route of ignorance, all right, you give me something to show you you're stupid for, and I'll do that. And you know, work zeal is always the best thing. I always made sure to go above and beyond. I had musical directors that scored me a 1.5 out of 5, you know, for vocal ability. and with that, because on cruise ships you're measured by guests. So when guests come to your show, but my MDs would give me a 1 or a 2, you know, and those were supposed to get you fired, you know, and if I wasn't smart, I probably would have been, you know. So it's like it's to navigate this thing. And like living in America for those years, you know, I was stopped by the cops and asked questions that were very demeaning. You know, almost like it was to insult and intimidate and mock me. I even in when I was on X Factor, you know, like there were dumb people in the audition stages and that were contestants that would make fun of my hair and stuff like that. So it's like people will try to get you to be the black crazy person that they think you are, and you just have to always stand above it. But
Well,
I
may
will.
I say that I like your hair.
I like my hair too, you know.
Dalton, question. The global pandemic, you were in the middle of preparing a whole bunch of songs. I can't figure out what that project was. You'll have to tell me about that. But how did the global pandemic impact your brand? Were you touring? How did it affect your career?
Um, but when I came back from rehab, I was supposed to go in the studio to write my second wave of music because over the past and change, I wrote probably 60, 70 songs. The record label asks for 14. The album is supposed to have 14 songs. I did 56 to 60. Then they said they wanted more. So we were supposed to be in the studio making what would have been another album with a different song, different kind of. But with the pandemic came shutting down of a lot of things, you know, and I wasn't, since I won X Factor, I haven't been working really. The only show I really did was Sumfest, and I had to fight that one, you know, because management always instructed me not to do certain things because it would diminish your brand and da 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 da. So it was just working. So I think the way it impacted me, obviously mentally, it's very taxing, you know. I'm in a country by myself, you know, I'm fending for myself. It's music, it's a very volatile industry.
It is.
So not being able to sing and perform is almost like blinding me, you know.
How do you
And
make up for that? What do you do in the meantime? The time of lockdown, what were you doing?
every day at home, right? I worked on a podcast the other day as well. I've just been trying to figure stuff out, and as well, I'm building a few shows for something that I can't.
Fair enough.
The 600 and something song them that far, and I'm writing music as well, so I never stop working.
So when do you expect the next album to drop?
I've known never to expect anything from a record label. So whenever they decide, cool. But that I have, if they really wanted, they could release 3 albums tomorrow and still have songs left over.
Wow.
It's business. It's not when you do music on this level. It's never about how good you are or how awesome it is. It's all about politics and how the game is supposed to be played and who decides to let you through the door and all that. So you just have to wait your turn and see what happens and try to be nimble enough to adjust as you go along.
Okay. I want to shift to finding balance. I know you're cycling all over the UK. Ingrid had said to ask you about your good body. So I'm asking that question, Ingrid. I'm not the one asking.
Why do I feel like this is coming from you? Because you don't like so.
It's not coming from me. Ingrid, who is on this chat, asked me to ask you that. It requires serious commitment to get out biking every day. How do you stay fit? How do you stay sane? How do you make it work? How do you not feel like a failure when you're having a bad day?
I was a very skinny kid. I was underfed. I was always tiny and smaller than the boys. And when you're a man, that affects you. Because you feel like, how come my chest not pop up? Like, how come them taller than me? How come my voice still squeaky and I'm 18, you know? All these things. And all the boys were always stronger and faster when I was a kid. And I realized that my family is tiny, you know, compared to my mom. I'm a giant because my sisters are tiny. My family is short, tiny, petite people.
Right.
And I had a health scare as well in 2018, where I wasn't taking care of myself. I was going very hard, and I was like, you know what, change your diet and change your way of life and your lifestyle. And that.
So what's your diet now?
Today or in general?
In general. We'd like to all learn something from that.
I do not eat fried foods. I do not. The only meat I eat is chicken, and I need. I've learned how to, even if I'm negating from my diet, it's nothing expensive. expensive either. So it's not that I'm buying top shelf things that's like expensive or nothing like. So we cook some chicken without oil or anything like that. Lots of vegetables, lots of potatoes and healthy carbs and iron and just a well-rounded diet. So on a daily basis, probably spinach and oatmeal and
Yeah,
potatoes
what do
and
you
brown
call
rice.
healthy carbs? What do you call healthy carbs? Because we are attracted to the other type of carbs.
Healthy carbs is anything that has fiber in it.
Mhm.
If you put some potato, keep your skin on it because that's rough edges and that help you to regulate good digestion.
Mhm.
Uh, it's lots of protein, lots of potassium as well. So I have a well-rounded diet, but I'm consistent and I keep fit as well and keep active. Like I'm not going to the gym go pump iron like that, but I keep a healthy lifestyle. I run and do the real things. I just do it for the look. I make sure my body cool. And regular trips to the doctor every 6 months. I advise everyone to go do some blood work and see if your organs are working. Make sure that your ALT levels are fine and stuff like that. Take
Is
care
it
of yourself.
is it a requirement of your label to keep fit, stay attractive?
Nah,
Okay, just curious.
I don't even think they care. They just want this thing. They want you to turn up and do the job they want you to do. You're a machine that makes music, and you're supposed to do that because a record label is also a machine that creates artists. So my job is to make sure that when I go to the studio, I can deliver, and my health helps me be better
Of
at that
course.
as well.
What's next for Dalton? Do you have plans to just make it big in America, be a crossover artist? What's your ultimate goal? Where do you
My
see yourself ultimately?
ultimate goal is to have a family and be happy. That's my ultimate goal. In terms of music, I have no expectations whatsoever, other than to always be my best whenever and for however long it lasts. I'm not caught up in the industry or fame or attention or notoriety.
Mhm.
I'm not seeking to be anyone or a star or the biggest this. I just want that if somebody hears my music, they can understand or mention it within their friend groups as it's among one of the best executed. I want to be known as one of the best vocalists of my generation. Um, Male or female,
Who is your competition?
me.
Thought you'd say that. I
Yeah.
thought you'd say that. But who else in your generation you really think they're impressive, they're doing well, and you look at them in awe, as I assume they look at you as well?
My generation, I think Coffee. Coffee, somebody we've spoken, and I don't even know if she likes me, but I respect her. Yeah, man, I respect Coffee.
Mhm.
In my generation, to be fair, that I look up to, it's normally those that are older or people that stood for something greater than, as I said, attention and fame and all that stuff. Um, so it's hard to think on off the top of my head who my generation is that.
But Coffee's an excellent choice. She's really a
But
stand.
also, even if I know them or they can't come to mind, anybody in my generation
Mhm.
or out that is doing awesome music and stands for something great and is trying to help human beings love themselves and is trying to, bring across unity among people and trying to just help people accept themselves and not try to marginalize anyone, then you are a hero of mine. Ron is a hero of mine, by the way.
Yeah. Who?
Yeah, in
Who?
Virgo.
Oh,
In
Romaine
Virgo.
Burgos. Somebody mentioned Romaine just now in the Facebook chat. Earl Boyd is asking, what about collaborating with other artists?
No, that probably is not very likely to happen. But if it does happen, to be honest, I have a song with Etana.
No, didn't know that.
I have a song with Etana that's probably like 6 years old, but I don't think it was ever released. And she was one of the first big artists that was like, I want to do a song with you. And I was so nervous. And we did a song together with Nova and Jeremy.
Who would you like to do collaborate with? Not only Jamaica, but generally speaking, who would you like to collaborate with?
Kendrick Lamar, Seal,
Mm-hmm.
Beyonce, Ariana Grande, John Legend, probably. Maybe not a song, but I in terms of production.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to work with Nile Rodgers again. I've worked with Justin Bieber's team as well. Who else would I work?
Somebody said Dalton and Rihanna would be fire.
Yeah, that would be good. Rihanna would be
great.
I don't know. To be honest, I'm excited about music. It's like I'd work with. There's so many.
Do you imagine a career in the United States?
It could happen, but I think what I learned with my campaign and the X Factor is never to expect anything of people. In that regard, I think I aspire to be the greatest vocalist of my generation. Wherever that takes me, it might be theater, it might be, this music industry. I don't know. But we'll see. I to be honest, I don't have any expectation. I don't think of when I set goals, I don't think, oh, I want to be big or be this and this here. I'm like, I want to execute and put it out there. Whatever comes. Yeah.
I know that part of what you experience, kind of a lot of the younger artists now, they don't want to be kind of categorized under the category of reggae. It's not that they don't like reggae or they don't see themselves as, fundamentally driven by reggae, but they probably think it's limiting. What is your view on that? Are you a reggae artist? What category are you in, if any?
I'm a reggae artist. Reggae limited me to the core, and it wasn't just vocally, it was culturally. In order for me to be a reggae artist, there's a lifestyle that I'd have to live and a mindset I'd have to adapt that would be toxic to many people, and I want no parts of it. I do not care if I become homeless tomorrow. I will never aspire to be a part of something that would want me to change. But in the same breath, Chronics, people like Coffee, the great Bob Marley, there are so many, Rummy and Virgo, there's so many great reggae artists that I'm just not a reggae artist, because of who I am. But that doesn't mean that it's reggae is something that I look at as not good enough for me, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's where a lot of artists, in saying they aren't reggae, it's almost they speak about reggae as something that's so bad. The history of reggae is extremely rich and has implicated many cultures and musical genres across the world. And that is always, I can make reggae music, it's easy, but I just don't feel like it challenges me to the level that I'd like to be. Because every time, and then when German and me war about this, every time I've had a reggae session, when I go in with the musicians, everybody has so much ego that even if I go in with my idea, they change it to what they've already done. Because in my experience, they don't like to create something that is different. They just want to create what they've already done. And there's a scale that you have to stay within to be reggae.
So you think that reggae stifles a personal brand?
Nah, because if your personal brand is aligned with what reggae stands for, then you're great. As I said, Chronics, Coffee, Virgo, so many people. Reggae is respect Dennis Brown, like Barry Salmon. These people have catalogs and a history that's so extensive and efficient. But reggae is not what I was born to be,
What were you born to be?
I was born to be an artist that transcends what reggae would allow me to do. And even in my song, there's so many unreleased songs that I have that they were good and they were awesome and vocally nice, but it would never get played on the radio because it didn't sound like what reggae was supposed to be, So why would I spend the rest of my life limiting myself and assimilating to what people want me to be? I could just create music like I do now.
Yeah.
Yes, so reggae wasn't for me, but I wouldn't say reggae diminishes anyone's brand because that would be disrespectful to the culture.
Let me ask you, when you when you're in the UK, you're away from the Jamaican culture. How do you keep your attachment to it? Do you go out and buy yam, Brixton? Do you what do you do that connects you to your culture?
I think my culture for me is innate. My Jamaican is innate. And I think when you think of Jamaican culture, do you think going to carnivals or going to the street dance or dressing a certain way or playing the part of, as I says, the quintessential Jamaican guy? Jamaicans. Wherever I go in the world, I will always be. But I guess it's the kind of Jamaican I am. So when it comes to the food, yeah, I miss that. But I don't really think that I've ever felt Jamaican enough my entire life in terms of what people would expect. I speak I live my life a different way. I believe in a different thing, you know. Like the underlying tone of sexism and homophobia and the way we try to package and sell ignorance. The world has a view of us as ignorant, angry people, and then the world has a view of us as talented, strong, creative people. I choose the route of this talented, strong, creative people, you know?
I understand. I
Because
read about the complexity of that brand in our book on Brand Jamaica. It's all of that.
the truth is, in my traveling the world and learning so much and being outside of the sphere of Jamaica and being outside of that bubble, I realized that the world and life is bigger than me imposing my Jamaicanness and what we do or don't allow on anyone else.
Right.
You know, every day embassy line full because people want to go foreign. People love, you know, and every clothes that people wear on their backs, we've assimilated and accepted an American way of life, and even on a Europe life, even to this day. The head of state, go and check who the head of state for Jamaica really is still. You know, and so like reading on the history of that allowed me to inform how I would and who I would be and the kind of man that I would be, you know. To some people, being Jamaican is having 3 baby mothers because the other day Father's Day and the amount of people custom some figure breed somebody. Or you know, your fish because you believe gay people are supposed to dead, or you sell out because your mother already, because Jamaican people you're supposed to just honor your mother and father because that's it. And I'm like, no, you know, I'm gonna stand up for what is right, and I feel like as a child I have a right as well, and abuse is never okay, and I'm never going to be homophobic, and I'm never going to get no girl pregnant just because I want to be a baby father, because that's a life, you know. So I live my life in a different way. If you have an issue with that, that's on you. I don't care.
Advice to Jamaican young men, especially those who want to be creatives in the creative industry.
You are more than what the history has taught you you should be. The Jamaican industry, the Jamaican population cannot support the industry. So chances are, if you want to be able to compete worldwide, you'd have to appeal to an audience outside. I will never tell you to appeal to an audience that you feel like is selling out your core beliefs, but also understand that Jamaica is surviving because of the interest of people outside of Jamaica. So you do not want us as aggressive and ignorant and intellectually stupid, pretty much. Just navigate your career in a way that you don't implicate yourself as being one of those problematic, stupid people that is, again, further marginalizing people, and respect women. You know, respect yourself and learn. Be eager to learn. You know, you don't know it all. And as talented as you might think you are, there's somebody else more talented. So be able and willing to grow.
Have a growth mindset.
Yeah, and try to be a better man than those before you. Because being a man has nothing to do with aggression. Being a man has everything to do with empathy. Because being a man is being a king, and how can you lead a kingdom when you don't care about people. You need empathy to do that, you know? So I say, if you're yeah, any Jamaican man, learn to use your heart more. Be emotionally intelligent. Yeah. Read a book as well, or two. Yes, yes.
Emotional
Yes.
agility. I mean, Jamaican men have a lot of emotional rigidity. I mean, we need the opposite of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Guys, you can
You
ask.
know,
There are lots of comments, but no questions. Proud of you, Dalton.
thank you.
On and really enjoying this interview. Ask him about the foul language and the branding, please. Kerry Tam is saying.
All
Well,
right, cool.
Kerry is not. He's not
Ask
about that. But she's saying, what about the foul language and branding? I don't know if she's assuming that expletives and foul language may be a part of their brand. Do you want to comment on that?
Sure, sure. For far too long, people think they have the right to edit how I express myself. If you've never used a curse word in your life, that is good and that is on you.
Oh, she's talking about you using
Yeah.
foul language?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I foul language as an adult man, I have every right to that. If I use one to somebody, then obviously that's bad.
No,
But
she's asking do you think that the use of frequent foul language on social media will damage your brand?
yes and no, it depends on how you're doing it. Like if you're going on, foul language can mean many things. If you're talking about the F word, or if you're speaking about, you know, a word that is offensive to people, you know, or if you're thinking about a word that is sexist or any kind of thing, like foul language is such a broad term. But if you mean just curse words,
Mhm.
that name, and that's somebody that has an issue with me using the F word, and I'll use it whenever I feel okay. But will you see me on TV using the F word and a foul language? No, because you learn to edit yourself, register time and place. But I'm an adult man, and I have the right, every right, to express myself how I feel. Um, Using a foul language isn't automatically making me less intelligent or smart or aggressive as somebody, but where it warrants one, me use one every now and again. I can't say I'm proud, I cannot say I'm ashamed of it either.
I feel you on that one.
But
So Patrick
but
Green, sorry, go ahead, Dalton.
artist, Beyonce is the most successful artist in the world probably right now. She's used them quite a bit.
Who?
Beyonce. Everybody uses foul language, whether in front of somebody or behind.
Mhm.
A foul language is no different from a judgment of somebody else or trying to impose your way of thinking on somebody else. So they're equally offensive if you ask me. As long as it doesn't get in the way of somebody living their lives, you're fine. So your personal brand cannot, if he's a Christian and a pastor, you don't want to cuss nobody word because it's going to damage your brand really.
Aye.
You know, if you're a politician, you have to the people to carry yourself in a certain way as to have people dignify you in that way. But in me being an artist personally, I have no obligation to you to speak in a certain way that you'd want me to. But what I do have an obligation to you to do is to respect you and reciprocate that. And using a foul language doesn't mean, you know,
Okay.
yeah.
Patrick Green is asking Dalton, how do you set and achieve your goals?
That's a
What's
good
your
question.
strategy? What's your strategy?
All right. If there's something I want or somewhere I want to be, I think about how I can do it. For example, X Factor. I knew I wanted to live in London, even America. I knew I wanted to go to America, but I had to start from scratch. And I asked questions first. Everyone I asked would tell me in a way that it was almost impossible. Because sometimes when you have goals and you tell somebody how you can achieve them, they'll laugh at you and they'll make you feel like it's impossible.
They tell you about the obstacles.
Yeah, so they can feel more exclusive because they've had it done, you know. So I researched how to get there, and people tell me, say, you know, if you have family members there, you can't just go foreign. But that was not true. I researched what I needed, and I went about making sure that I met every prerequisite that I needed to apply for certain visas. And I worked on cruise ships and saved so I could afford to.
I want to underline that point. I want to underline that point, Patrick. Thanks for asking that question because I remember being in Jamaica myself, and I was in Spanish Town staying with my sister when I applied for a job in Australia. I didn't
Come on.
never been to Australia. I just applied and light went away. I remember light gone as usual at Jamaica. And my sister, I'd paste up something on the wall, some questions, you know, some responses to trying to trigger me when I'm asking me in the interview. And my sister, I remember, had a torch. When the light gone, she put a torch on the wall. I'll never forget it. So that I could remember what I wanted to say. And I got that job. I went to Australia because I'd actually got that job and I was sitting in Jamaica after one of those hurricanes, I think. So it is possible. And Dalton, there's a story that you probably should mention where you had to send in multiple audition tapes because they didn't actually believe that you were singing. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So I was on cruise ships with horrible cruise ship internet, and it was hard to, you know, get time to do it. But I had to send in probably around 50 or so videos because I had to constantly sing a song and record it and send it in. And at this time, I didn't have a visa for the UK, by the way. I had never been here. But I needed to make sure I had the okay, and I got in so I could use their letter that said I was accepted, to use that along with my CV and my resume of my musical experience. So cruise ships, and having worked on cruise ships for that long and being in America and working with these billion-dollar corporations is a good thing to do because you're getting experience and you're learning things. So, you know, it's a lot more to just, you know, when you hear somebody say, let me get a visa, it's more than just somebody looking at you and making a random decision. You know, if you read and do your research and apply yourself, if you want it, try to understand how it works and apply yourself, you know, and you can do it. Even though, like, even the other day, like when Corona, when I say, what am I report Dalton? And, you know, there's this whole thing that said I applied for asylum here, which isn't true. But there's is that you can get things, and it just takes you researching and applying yourself. It's hard, but you can do it. So if I have a goal, I think about how do I get to that goal. You know, you can have the vision and the pretty thing of, oh, yo, I want to be the biggest artist. I'm going to just sing song. I'm going to just, oh, you see your job. So let's say, yeah, you want to be the biggest artist. If you want to be the biggest artist, you can do the whole thing of, yeah, I'm going to just sing song and make some hit song, and then boom, I'm going to be the biggest artist. Or you can say, to be the biggest artist, I need to be in this country. How do I get to this country? How much is it going to cost? When I'm there, how long will I be without work, roughly? Can I support myself? What do I do to save money? And I guess, you know, you have to plan. So if I have a goal, I think of where I want to be. And then every step of the way, I'm making sure I have something that allows me to be one step closer to getting and being with that goal. Hume, I don't know if I'm going to. No.
Oh, man, I'm still here. I'm still here. Suzanne Jones is asking, what do you think are the best qualities that describe you? She's asking you to actually talk about your personal brand. What's the best qualities that you think describe you?
I love human beings. I'm empathetic. I work hard, extremely hard.
Sound like my personal branding coaching session, but go ahead.
Yeah, empathy is my biggest. I think empathy is my biggest, what do you call it? Trait.
Quality. Mm-hmm.
And quality. Yeah. And I'm willing to learn. Like I want to learn, and I want in a room and in anywhere, I want to be the one working the hardest. And if I'm not, it makes me uncomfortable.
Donna Thompson, as you said at Ishing, she's very proud of you and all that you have accomplished. And Andrea is asking, have you found your tribe? When you stand in your truth as you have, it separates you. Have you found a collective? You know, I think she means of people that align.
Get in there. But I realized I didn't have to wait to find a tribe to accept myself. So now I can tell you life can be a bit lonely, and I do feel alienated at times, but it's okay. Because for the people that are around me, they're great. And I have a self-awareness that makes me so much more comfortable in who I am. So my tribe is not yet found, but love is there. And I think that's most amazing. Yeah.
And you have
working on it.
You have
Huh?
supporters. You have
Yeah,
supporters.
man, I have supporters that I don't know, but the people that I'm around
Mhm.
I'm around amazing people as well that I learn from every day. So I'm good.
All right, so I'm just gonna read a couple of these things and then we're gonna wrap this up, guys. Dalton has to do his business. Lyndon Taylor, Lyndon works at the Jamaica Tourist Board. Dalton should be the face of this thing, Lyndon Taylor. He says, thank you for facilitating this interview so that he can learn more about this wonderful, talented artist and human being. Uh, Suzanne says you're measured to the core. Fitz says he's enjoying this interview. Marissa says she's proud of your courage. She's
Mm.
proud of your courage and your determination. And Nita says that she hopes that more music is released soon because we love his songs and we want more.
Is that Anita who something another?
Anita is one of your biggest fans.
Yes,
Anita
I
Evans.
know Anita. So Anita, Pat, Bevy, and all of them, like
Anita,
they
talk
always,
yourself. Mhm.
yeah, man, all of them, they always support. But yeah, man, music will definitely be there. I think for now, I've seen a lot of people, trying to. If I wanted to, I could be like trying to sell people music, but the world is going through something that's so huge, and I don't want to be. It just wouldn't feel right if I was here selling music, saying go buy this or go stream this. It just don't feel right to me. So I'll wait. But music is definitely there, gonna come soon. The record label is extremely they want music out today, which is a good place to have them in, because for me it's really good. So I think music is there. It's not like music isn't there. I have song on my computer and everything. I have a whole heap of song, but the industry is bigger than me and I don't dictate it. So I want people to understand that my only power is going in the room and making sure that when everything is said and done, every record exec is going to say I was the hardest worker. I was the one that showed up and did 110%. They have no issues with me being professional or not. So music will be coming, man, for sure.
And Althea Lang, I love Dalton. Althea Lang was Jamaica's first supermodel on the cover of
Mm,
Essence. Big up yourself, Althea. She says she love you and they think it's a great conversation. They're very proud of you.
thank you.
And you're a bright young man, you're a brilliant mind, and you're a mega talent.
Thank you.
I also share that perspective as well. Final parting words you want to say to Jamaica, to the Jamaican people, to the young people in particular? We have to encourage the young people. And Dalton, you're such a shining example of what can be achieved by Jamaican young people despite extreme
Yeah,
odds.
yeah. I think Jamaican people are innately strong people. I think that is the biggest quality I have now in my life. Being a Jamaican is knowing that I was subject to a lot of things that you'd be surprised not many people are privy to, and we see these things as bad, like being afflicted with understanding how to navigate poverty and make it work, or just the way our schooling system is set up. You find that the aptitude at which you are operating
Mhm.
far outdoes a lot of people in this world. But politics and how powerful a country is plays a part in how opportunities come about. But also I want to say to any Jamaican is take a page out of every Jamaican that's made it big outside of Jamaica, and how they've had to understand and be much more than what you think is okay. Like when you're going on a stage show and you see them a bus blank and do all this crazy stuff, them go them yard and drink them Guinness and wake up tomorrow also. You do not want to be that guy or girl.
Yeah,
You know?
man.
You
Copeland
want
Forbes, have a
to
big up. Copeland Forbes is like foundation.
respect Mr. Forbes.
He said meet
A
you
Fortis man that?
last
Is he
year.
a Fortis man? I don't remember if Copeland Forbes is a
He said
Fortis
it
man.
was his drummer Desi Jones who introduced you to him at some fest
Yeah,
last year.
Desi Jones was my drummer at Sumfest
But
last Sumfest.
Copeland is foundation with all of the great artists he has toured with them.
Mm,
In the
yeah. Donovan Jeremy normally talk about Copeland
yeah,
Falls, man.
man,
Respect
everybody.
my boss.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Dalton. I don't know if there's anything more that we can ask for in this conversation. You have poured your heart out. You've been completely transparent and honest. And you give us so much courage, because a lot of times we face our own private difficulties and we don't feel confident enough to even talk about it, much less talk about it in public. And you have so much owned yourself, all of the flaws, the foibles, and the power of who you are. And I think that's why I wanted to have you on this as a first guest in this brand new lab. And we've always been talking about branding anyway.
Yes, I should look into the camera. I should open my mouth when I speak. I should open my teeth when I speak. I shouldn't look away. These are things that Hume texts me all the time. Every time. Yeah.
But I'm so proud of you, and I'm pleased that, because for me, a personal brand is at your core what you believe in and what you stand for and what you're committed to. It's not for me, it's not the stardom and the whole heap of followers and stuff. All of that is great, but you have so much integrity, and I think that you give integrity to the Jamaican culture. You take us up a notch, I believe. And
I mean, whether it's something they'll admit when I'm alive or when I'm dead, it's something I know that I do. And I'll forever be proud of that, whether I get recognition for it or not. I want my generation of scholars and bright minds to understand never to navigate or never to negate their trajectory because of what they're being told to be and assimilate and do, because a hype doesn't outdo a lifetime of a career that is way more important than
put your face
local approval. You see, my phone at charge over here, so my phone it a certain way.
We soon finish.
Yeah.
I know Donovan wanted to be a lawyer or a doctor. Do you think that's in your future?
Yeah, man. Him didn't want to go to med school, you know. So what I have an education is something you can never get. Nobody can take it from you. So I have that. If I wanted to, the option is there to go back to school.
Yeah.
And it is still something that I have in my goals and in my thing to go back. But I'm busy now. I have some things to do. Yeah.
I understand. Thank you so much, Dalton. What we've experienced this afternoon is nothing short of inspirational. Thank you so much for helping us to kick off Hume Johnson Consulting's brand new lab. Guys,
congratulations on the brand new lab as well.
Thank you, my darling.
Congrats on that.
Thank you. Guys, our goal at the brand new lab is to amplify the conversation about personal branding, to really get people to think that it is at their core who they are and the value that they bring to the table. And I think Dalton just immensely demonstrated that today. We want to offer resources, so look out for the website and stuff, and solutions and knowledge and information and more conversations like this. If I can.
Will there be another book?
Yes, I'm working on another book right now. It's more going to be a book that can be used in MBA programs. It was a suggestion by a professor at Clayton State University, who I don't know, who just so happened to use the book this year in her personal branding, in her MBA program. So guys, if you want to start building your brand, you can, buy my book at Amazon, Brand You, Reinvent Yourself and Redefine Your Future. Or you can just hit me up for a personal branding coaching session. We do all of that as well. We really want to use this as a jump off point to build community, because success doesn't happen alone. We have to build each other up, and we have to encourage each other, and so that we can make each other better. And together we can be more impactful in our careers, in our community, and in our industry. So thank you once again for joining the conversation. You can continue the conversation with Dalton on his Facebook page, because I know all I want to dep on it. But you can also follow me on. You can follow Dr. Hume Johnson on Instagram for more information. It's Dr. Hume Johnson on Instagram for more information on personal branding. And as I always say, it's never, ever, ever, ever too late to reinvent yourself and unleash your personal power. So until next time, Take care. Bye-bye. One love.
Peace and love. Bye-bye.
Peace and love. Yeah.
Bye.
So my darlings, I'm gonna have you bid you farewell, each of you on this chat, so I can say proper goodbye to Dalton. Say goodbye to Dalton, guys.
Bye-bye, everybody. Are there people on this?
Yeah, man, there were for people on it saying goodbye to you.
All right. Oh,
This is amazing. Take care, guys.
Sister May, I see them, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Cause them turn off, the ugly people, them turn off them camera, you know.
Oh, dear.
Me so turn off mine too.
Yes, me know say. What time now? 12 o'clock almost?
It is, what time is it here? It is almost 12. Almost 12.
Oh, I apologize for keeping
No,
you
not cool.
so late. But you're
That's
not at
cool.
home, so I'm sure you're not. All right, guys. Goodbye, Ingrid. Goodbye, Colleen, Sade, Dean from Trinidad, right? Sade?
Yo, do you think shops are open now?
Kenny or Rochelle, thank you for joining us.
No problem. It was a great session.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rochelle.
Thank you so much, guys.
No problem. Keep doing the great work you both are doing. Really proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rochelle.
Thank you.
All right, great session, guys.
Thank you so much, Kenil. So glad you were able to join us.
Thank you for thanking me.
Jamaicans, thank you for thanking me.
I think that one is from Grenada, you know. I think so.
Thank you for thanking me.
All right, guys, I'm gonna have to bid you farewell so I can bid farewell to let me just stop this Facebook Live thing. Let me see if I can end that one.
Together we are.
Yeah, bust a song for you, brethren. You can't do it a cappella.
Right now, Corona time, so anybody missing for me an invoice? Hold it like no. Yeah, but I'll be singing for you soon, sooner than you probably think.
I seriously thought we were going to get a song.
How do we end? How do I end this Facebook thing? Yeah. Give the people one song. They're still on Facebook Live. Can you just give the people just a little bit of that signature vocal that you have? Come on.
Signature vocal. Don't hype me up so Hume. Which vocal was sing? You know which song I have a full different appreciation for today, because I watched the Bob Marley documentary and how politics divided and could have killed one of the greatest artists to ever live in the world and Jamaica's biggest artist. Redemption song.
All right, hit it.
Oh, pirates, yes, there are by.
Sold out
to the merchant ships. Minutes after they took I from the bottomless pit. But my hands were made strong by the hands of the Almighty. We forward in this generation triumphantly. Now won't you help me sing
these songs of freedom?
It's all I've ever had. Redemption songs. No.
Big tune. All right, guys, I'm gonna stop the live stream now. Thank you so much, guys, on Facebook for watching and for joining us, and we'll see you next time. We have another person coming up.
See you next week.
See you next time. All right, Dalton. Let me just guys, goodbye. Let me just end this live stream.